Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Electra stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, arms crossed securely across her chest, gazing out at the Los Angeles skyline. The city sprawled before her, a dazzling fantasy of dreams and heartbreak, but she scarcely noticed it. Her mind was a hurricane, raging with the revelation that had broken her carefully crafted universe. Deke, the guy she had totally trusted, was dating Remy. Remy, of all people. The name irritated her throat. She turned swiftly, her heels clicking across the hardwood floor, and looked at Ridge, who sat behind his desk, his forehead knotted with the weight of her demands. "Fire him," she commanded, her voice low but firm, each word a shard of ice. "Deke needs to leave." Ridge leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled, his gaze searching her face for a fracture in her determination. He had seen Electra get angry before. Her passion was legendary, a fire that could scorch anybody in its path. But this time was different. This was more than simply fury. This was genuine, unprotected pain that seeped through her carefully kept mask. "Electra," he said, his voice calm, "you know Deke has been an important part of this enterprise. He is loyal and talented." "Loyal?" The word burst from her lips, sharp and bitter. She took a step forward, hands at her sides and fists clenched. "Loyal to whom, Ridge? To you? To this company? Or to her?" Her voice cracked with the last syllable, revealing the pain she'd worked so hard to conceal. Ridge sighed, raking a hand through his hair, revealing his own distress. He was more than just the CEO of Forrester Creations. He was a man torn between personal and professional responsibilities. Deke had been with the company for years, a reliable presence in the design department who had earned his position through hard effort and evident brilliance. He pledged to protect Electra, his late brother's daughter and family member. And now she stood before him, her eyes filled with a mix of rage and something deeper, something that made his chest ache. "Tell me what happened," Ridge asked softly, getting from his chair and moving around the desk to be closer to her. "I need to understand, Electra. Why are you taking this so hard?" She looked away from him, her gaze returning to the window, as if the city could provide an escape from the truth she didn't want to admit. "You wouldn't understand," she said, just above a whisper. "You couldn't." Ridge wasn't one to give up. He moved closer, his presence firm and grounded. "Try me." For a long time she said nothing. The stillness stretched between them, full with unspoken facts. Finally, she began, her words slow and deliberate, each one a confession she hadn't planned to make. "I trusted him, Ridge. I thought he spotted me. Not just Electra Forrester, the heiress and face of the corporation, but also myself. The real me." She chuckled, a lifeless sound with no humor. "That's stupid, right?" Ridge lowered his expression, but did not interrupt. He knew better than to push her when she was so vulnerable. "I saw them together," she added, her voice becoming softer and more weak. "At that little cafe on Melrose, with the fairy lights." He was holding her hand, Ridge. "Remy." She was laughing, and he was looking at her as if she was the only person in the world. Her breath hitched, and she pushed a hand to her chest to steady the anguish. "I've never seen him gaze at someone like that. Not even me." The admission hung in the air, a confession of love she'd never expressed aloud, not even to herself. Electra had always been the untouchable one, the lady who commanded attention with a single glance and walked through life with the assurance of knowing her worth. But beneath that polished facade, she was still human, capable of craving for something, or someone, that she couldn't have. Ridge leaned out and placed a soft touch on her shoulder. "Electra, I apologize. I had no idea you felt this way about him." She pulled off his contact, not out of anger, but because she couldn't endure the comfort. "Not now." "It doesn't matter what I felt," she continued, her voice tightening yet again. "What matters is that he has betrayed me. He betrayed the company. Remy is a liability for Ridge. You're familiar with her history." She's manipulative and opportunistic. Ridge scowled, his mind trying to figure out the ramifications of her words. Remy was a recent addition to the team, a bright but controversial designer whose daring ideas elicited both praise and mistrust. She had a reputation for getting what she wanted at whatever cost, and her unexpected closeness to Deke had created suspicions among the staff. Was that enough to justify firing him? Ridge was not so sure. Electra, I get that you're hurt, he added softly. But firing Deke over a personal relationship is a big step. We need to be rational about this. She turned to face him, her eyes sparkling. Do you think I am being irrational? You assume this is just a jealous outburst? Ridge, I've dedicated my life to defending this company and our family's legacy. I've given everything to Forrester Creations, my time, emotion, and soul. And now to see Deke throw it all away for her. She shook her head, reducing her voice to a whisper. This isn't just about me. It's about what's best for the company. But Ridge wasn't convinced. He knew Electra too well, and he was aware of how her emotions could cloud her judgment, even if she never admitted it. Let's take a step back, he remarked, his voice calm but forceful. I will talk to Deke. I will obtain his side of the story. But I'm not going to make a judgment like this without all of the facts. Electra's jaw tensed, and it appeared that she was about to argue. But then she gave a single, curt nod. Fine. Talk to him. But don't expect me to sit quietly while he makes a fool of us all. She turned and stormed for the door, her steps quick and determined, as if she could outrun the pain that clung to her like a shadow. However, as she reached for the handle, she paused, her hand quivering slightly. Ridge, she replied without turning back, don't let him split this family up. Not like this. And then she was gone, the door quietly closing behind her, leaving Ridge to deal with the weight of her words. Deke sat in the design studio, surrounded by sketches and fabric swatches, his attention drifting away from the latest collection. His phone buzzed on the table, and Remy's name appeared on the screen. As he read her message, a little smile pulled at his lips, a playful jest regarding their dinner arrangements for the evening. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of lightness and hope, which had been missing for so long. Remy was different. She was lively and unabashed, a flurry of energy that made him feel alive in a way he hadn't in years. But that spark faded when he heard the entrance to the studio open and saw Ridge standing there, his countenance unreadable. Deke, Ridge answered calmly, but with a serious undertone. We need to talk. Deke placed down his phone, his gut twisting with anxiety. What is this about? He inquired, but a part of him already knew. For weeks, stories circulated about his relationship with Remy and Electra's disdain. He hoped it would pass, that Electra would see sense. Ridge's expression, however, indicated differently. It's about Remy, Ridge explained, drawing up a chair and sitting across from him. And Electra. She's upset. More than upset. She's requesting that I fire you. Deke's heart fell as the words struck him like a physical blow. Fire me.
Why?
Because I am dating Remy. He leaned forward, grabbing the table's edge. Ridge, that is insane. Ridge raised a hand, his look weary. I understand, Deke. I understand. But Electra doesn't see it that way. She believes Remy is a harmful influence and that she will bring difficulties for the organization. And she's hurt, Deke. More than I believe you realize. Deke's face furrowed, uncertainty mingling with mounting dread in his chest. Hurt? What exactly are you talking about? Electra and I are colleagues. Friends, perhaps, on a good day. But why would she care who I am dating? Ridge paused, selecting his words carefully. Deke, she cares about you. More than she has ever admitted. Discovering your relationship with Remy has had a significant impact on her. I don't think she's only concerned about the firm. I believe she is worried about losing you. The words hung in the air, weighty and unexpected. Deke slumped back in his chair, his thoughts whirling. Electra? Concerned about him? He had always respected her strength, passion, and unwavering drive, but he had never thought of her in that way. She was Electra Forrester, untouchable and larger than life. The concept of having feelings for him was inconceivable. "I didn't know," he finally said, his voice subdued. "I swear, Ridge, I had no idea." Ridge nodded, sympathetically. "I believe you. But this does not change the problem. Electra is pushing hard for this, and I need to figure out how to handle it without ripping this firm apart." Deke ran a hand over his face, the weight of the issue descending on him like a heavy cloud. He remembered Remy, how her laughter could brighten a room, and how she made him feel like he could be more than just the person who drew sketches and fulfilled deadlines. And then he remembered Electra, the years they'd spent working together, and the times he'd caught a glimpse of the woman beneath the armor, vulnerable, human, and real. "What should I do, Ridge?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I do not want to hurt anyone." Ridge expressed a gentle understanding as he stated, "I just want to be happy." Happiness, Deke, does not always come free. The question is, how much are you willing to pay? The days that followed were filled with tension and unspoken words. Electra avoided Deke, her presence in the office casting a dark fog over everyone. Deke immersed himself into his profession, seeking to establish his worth to the organization and demonstrate that his personal decisions did not decrease his dedication. But every gaze from Electra, every sharp phrase or frosty silence, served as a reminder of their divide. Remy, for her part, appeared unaware of the maelstrom gathering around her. She walked into the workplace with her customary confidence, her designs bold and provocative, and her laughing a stark contrast to the tense mood. Deke wanted to shield her from the gossip and condemnation, but he couldn't stop feeling like he was betraying Electra every time he spent with Remy. One evening, after the office closed and the city lights began to glimmer outside, Deke found himself alone in the design studio, staring at a sketch he'd been working on for hours. It was a beautiful and simple garment inspired by Electra's strength and grace, which he had always admired. He hadn't intended to draw it, or to spill his conflicting emotions onto the page, yet there it was, a silent confession of all he couldn't say. The door opened, and he looked up to see Electra standing there with an enigmatic expression. For a period, neither of them spoke. The stillness was fragile, laden with everything they'd left unsaid. "I didn't know," Deke finally said, his voice raspy with passion. "Electra, I swear, I didn't know how you felt." Her lips pinched into a thin line, and she averted her sight to the sketch in front of him. "Is it for her?" she inquired, her voice scarcely audible. Deke shook his head, his throat tightening. "No. It's for you." Her eyes widened, and for a brief moment, the mask she wore slipped, showing the raw vulnerability underneath. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you making something for me now?" "Because I see you," he replied, his voice breaking. "I have always seen you, Electra. But I didn't think you saw me the same way," she said, taking a step closer with shaky hands. "And Remy, are you seeing her the same way?" Deke paused, the weight of her question bearing down on him. "Remy's different," he finally said. "She makes me feel free. It feels like I can breathe for the first time in years." "But you—" He stopped off, wondering how to finish or if he should. Electra's eyes welled with tears, but she blinked them away, her jaw stiffening. "I can't do this," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I can't stand here and pretend I'm fine with you picking her. I can't watch you throw away all we've made for someone you don't even know." "Electra, I'm not throwing anything away," he answered, rising from his chair and approaching her. "I am still here. I'm still devoted to this firm, to you and to all we've worked for." But she shook her head and backed away. "That's not enough, Deke. It's not enough to simply be here. I needed you to choose me." The words hung between them, a confession that tore something inside each of them. Deke wanted to reach for her and close the gap that had built between them, but he knew it was too late. The decision had been made, not in a single instant, but in 1,000 small ones, in every grin he'd exchanged with Remy, in every moment he'd allowed himself to imagine he could have something simple, something straightforward. "I'm sorry," he muttered, barely audible. "I never meant to hurt you." Electra nodded, a single tear trickling down her cheek. "I know," she replied, "but you did." She turned and went away, leaving him alone in the dark light of the studio, the dress sketch forgotten on the table. It was a beautiful item, the result of adoration and unspoken love, but it would never be worn. It would remain a subtle reminder of what may have been, a fragile thread in the fabric of their dissolving lives. In the weeks that followed, the stress at Forrester Creations only increased. Ridge attempted to arbitrate, seeking a balance between Electra's expectations and Deke's contributions, but the schism was too profound. Electra immersed herself into her art, making her designs sharper and more cutting, as if she could channel her sorrow via every stitch and line. Deke, meanwhile, strained to concentrate, his emotions divided between the woman he had injured and the woman he was falling for. Remy detected a shift in him, a growing distancing. "What's wrong?" she inquired one night as they sat in her apartment, the city lights creating long shadows across the space. "You are not yourself, Deke. Talk to me." He gazed at her, at the warmth in her eyes, at the openness that had drew him in to begin with. "It's Electra," he confessed, the words lingering on his tongue. "Remy, she's hurting. Because of us." Remy's countenance softened, but there was a hint of something else, guilt or fear. "I didn't mean to come between you," she added quietly. "I didn't know she felt that way." "Neither did I," Deke added, his voice laced with regret. "But now that I do, I don't know how to fix it." Remy reached for his hand, her touch gentle but forceful. "Deke, you can't fix her pain. You can't spend your life trying to make everyone happy. Sometimes you have to pick yourself." But doing so felt like a betrayal, not only of Electra, but also of the man he'd always imagined himself to be. He had come to Forrester Creations with the goal of producing something permanent, something that would outlast him. He never expected it would cost so much. Ridge ultimately made the decision that no one wanted. Deke was not dismissed, but he was offered two options: step down from his post in the design department or leave the company entirely. Ridge claimed that it was not a punishment, but rather a measure to preserve the team's precarious equilibrium. Deke elected to step back, assuming a smaller role in operations, which kept him out of Electra's orbit while allowing him to remain with a company he had helped develop.